meeting. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do you have any apologies?
Just Rebecca's ongoing ones.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have to accept that, or are we okay?
You just accept, yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
we'll accept that. Yeah. Very good. Next is declarations of interest. Anybody have any disclosable pecuniary interests or other interests on anything on the agenda this evening? I don't, as far as I'm aware, but if anything comes up, let us know.
I
Yeah.
think I need to say I work at Howell School, but I don't remember why. You don't know why you work there. I don't know why I work there.
Is it
I've
just-
got this one as well, just in case it's in.
It's probably just the update on the CCTV. is
That's
it?
probably,
Yeah.
that's what it was. I knew it was.
Interesting.
And also, one of the people involved in the tenancy of the courthouse is known to me
Okay.
as a neighbour. So,
It's acceptable as far as I can see.
Um,
Small town, you got to know each other.
yeah. Representation from interested parties, we don't have any this evening. So, go on to minutes of the previous evening. Is anybody wanting to?
I am wanting to make a comment.
Okay.
In spite of my apparent absence, I did actually second 3, if not 4, of the propositions.
so you do.
A and B,
So would you like to be absent or not absent?
exactly. So I'd like it to be amended that I was actually present at that meeting, even though it says I wasn't. Because further down, having read
Yeah.
the minutes,
Yeah.
when,
Sorry, that's a typo then, yeah, apologise.
Yeah, you're not.
Leave those,
You
Jamie,
were
then, and I'll,
definitely here, weren't you?
yes, if it could
well,
be.
if I've said that
Can
you've
it be,
proposed a
can
second.
it be altered, please?
Yeah, it's probably because I copy and paste it from the
So,
last one.
so just leave that.
Yeah, just leave that, I'll reprint them out and get them to you. Apologies for that.
And Rebecca appears to be both there and not there.
Another couple of those.
Okay, I'll amend all of those.
Unless we were
I can't
phasing
remember
in
whether
different.
I don't know
She
what,
was.
she wasn't here last time, no.
Yeah, she just had
Southern
phasing.
was definitely not here.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, well,
In that case, we'll go on to the next item, which is reports. Okay, so to receive a report from Allen Town Council Properties and Open Spaces, both of them. To receive action plan and progress report, anything out of any of those reports that anybody would like to mention?
I think some of those things are on the agenda, aren't they? So
Yes. No? Okay, in that case, I'm going to move on to the rugby club. Nothing to report there?
No.
No. Okay. Flatton House. To consider town council entrance sign at Flatton House and size 2 is up. And decide next steps.
this is me, isn't it? Sorry. I was talking to somebody on the market, and they said they didn't know where the town council was.
Yeah.
Which was fair.
Yeah.
And we talked about the Flatton House sign out on the road, but also when you come to the main door down the bottom there.
Yeah.
There's nothing that actually says it's town council.
Yes,
No.
I think it's very good.
And then when you walk in through the doors, if you look on the painted sign, it sort of implies, but it's not really clear that you turn right and then walk upstairs and come back on yourself. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
do we want lots of signs or a couple of signs? But I think something to just make it easier for people to find us might be a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea.
I think a sign at the road.
Yeah.
The turn,
Side of the road is good,
definitely, and then maybe one at the front door,
so you walk in this way though,
yes.
and charge as you go
So you
upstairs.
enter
Yeah.
on the narrow to upstairs.
So almost one near the little entrance shelves saying turn right, and then one of the glass doors saying upstairs.
Yeah, okay, so I think we're all
All that.
in agreement with that
Seem to be.
and their placement. Yeah, so the next step, I guess, would be to get some quotes.
Mhm.
So can Rebecca, does she sort of come up with a couple of designs to
Yeah. Have you got any ideas how you want it to
really
look?
nice ones?
Well, yeah, she does usually. She does some really good stuff.
I
doesn't she?
think we've sort of got that template we use for the outside signs, didn't we, with the logo and just
Yeah.
Hamilton Council.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you happy if I just get her to do a couple of choices and then email them to you,
Yeah,
decide over email.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
That sounds good. Okay, excellent, that's good. To consider provision, changing facilities on Hamilton Council estate and consider further action.
So I don't spend my life going around public toilets, but when I do go around public toilets, I'm also aware that a lot of them have changing facilities. Do we have anywhere on our estate where you can change a baby easily?
I'm not sure if we've got one in the disabled toilet in the public toilets.
So I wasn't sure. I think I might have read
I've been
articles
in there about 6 times over the past month and forgotten to look each time. And I can't for the life of me visualise there being one there, but I will have a look.
Yeah, and if you look at various sites, they say we shouldn't put them in disabled toilets because it means mothers and people in wheelchairs have to make choices, etc. But then they also say you should ideally have 10 per, I think it's 100,000 people in a city.
Right.
We're less than that,
So that's-
population-wise. So do we feel we should?
We've got one here. We've got one in the
Where are they?
We could put them-
This disabled toilet at the end here.
No, I was thinking we should.
And then I think it's in the disabled toilet at the courthouse as well.
So we've
there is
got a
one
couple of
somewhere
them.
here. Yeah, there is one somewhere.
Yes, that far end
Yeah, I think
disabled
it is.
toilet up here.
Just anywhere in Amble? I know, because there would be public toilets, wouldn't there? Waitrose have a changing facilities?
I think
Yes.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yes. So in other words, if I wanted to change my child, I could head to a series of places.
Yeah.
If I wanted to.
I think we've got one downstairs in the disabled toilet down here as well, because it's next to the preschool. I think
Okay.
if we've
That would
got
make a lot of
Near
sense.
the
Yeah.
preschool.
And at QDH, it's not open.
yeah, I'm sure there's one in the
I think
disabled
there's one of
toilet.
the
Yeah.
ladies in the.
Because the danger of putting one in the public toilets is it gets broken
Yeah,
and it's expensive. They're bulletproof ones. I found one that's bulletproof. You can do anything, but it's
Literally, but
literally, I think it's made of stainless steel.
wow.
But it's about £2,500.
right, yeah.
Which suddenly it's changing a baby on the floor. So I just thought I'd raise it, whether we need to ponder on it.
I can tell you some history, a little bit of history, and that was that they did it some years ago, a survey about the toilets in Anfield. The district council didn't want to put a public toilet up, they put it up originally. And they did a survey, and they went around various shops telling them they had to put toilets in, but of course all the places they chose were listed buildings, so you actually couldn't do it. I mean, pointless exercise. You know, there isn't even in many of the shops a private place for the shopkeepers to put their
No.
handbags or
Right.
whatever. So we are a bit short in our
Yeah. So I thought I'd just raise it. We don't need to do anything tonight, but I thought we should maybe just ponder.
It's quite a good idea to record that we've raised it.
Yeah. And certainly as the summer comes in, we might be that people say, I would like summer, or I would have like summer as a visitor.
Well, if I go and do a proper recce and take pictures of where they are, and then
That'd
we
be
can
great.
discuss it further.
And then at least we can direct people to where they are.
Absolutely. Because if there are readily available landmarks, then we don't need to-
Well, at least we could have a list,
Yeah.
That would be a good idea.
you know,
Stick on it.
that people can see, yes,
Love
on
it.
the website or something.
Love how we make toilet facilities.
Yeah.
To encourage visitors.
But it's funny, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And the last thing to Flattened House, update on tiling of horizontal surfaces in Flattened House toilets.
That's me again. Sorry,
Wow.
I get these some moments when I think about things, and I just
I
send
think
Lisa
you
an
should
email.
get some,
You
get
get
live.
it- get it live.
That's it.
It's when I came in here last week and I found the random accident book. When we were here in June or July, and we did the big round tour, I think we were talking about decorating Flattened House and thought it doesn't need much decorating. But one of the things was raised was where water and soapy hands drop on those horizontal surfaces in toilets.
Oh, that's what you meant,
And
yes.
we're going to put some tiles down on them. And somebody thought, we haven't got any tiles down. Is that underway, or is that, do we need to reboot that?
It's not underway because I forgot about it, so did
Well,
we,
the
did we,
different
did we
job.
mention it to Nobby when we were walking around? Was he with
I
us?
think we might have mentioned it amongst ourselves, but I'm
Right.
not sure it'll be further.
Okay, let me,
That's okay.
Because it should be quick, simple, it would avoid the paint stripping off.
yeah, we could just buy some, like,
Okay.
generic white tiles, can't we, then?
Dead easy.
Yeah, good. That's,
Almost in my
sounds like a good idea.
Sounds like a good idea.
and it's easier to wear and tear.
Okay, that's, yeah, okay, that's fine. Moving on then, the hub, nothing to report. QVH, update, see report. Lisa, what is it about the,
Sorry,
sorry, QVH?
Leaking taps.
QVH. Yeah, nothing major, well, we thought we'd got the heating issues sorted, but I had a phone call tonight from the yoga lady saying that the heating hadn't come on, so we're going to have to get the Clarks back out again. We thought we'd solved the issue. And we've got a few taps that were leaking, which has now been resolved.
Okay,
But that's about it, really.
fair enough. Yeah. Right, we'll go into the courthouse then. To discuss new tenant, Glide, approved tenancy. Discuss specific decoration request from Glide. With, I'm sure, it's been a very nice letter. From Glide.
This was one of the
Yeah.
people that were looking at officers before COVID, and then obviously decided to leave it for a little
Right,
bit.
okay.
So we're back in a situation now where they want an office.
Is this the person who has a child at Elm School?
No,
No.
No.
Okay.
not as far as I know.
Not the, so that meant any. Thoughts? Anyone?
Micro-entities sound exciting.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, exactly.
I can't find it.
Civil supporting.
Yeah.
Supporting government stuff.
Can I look at yours? Because I don't seem to have had that.
Together with the accounts.
Is that a resident?
Yes. Okay.
I see no reason.
No.
It's just a question of the wood chip.
Yeah. I've already warned him that obviously where Alder Town Council are usually happy to do basic decoration, so Nobby usually goes in and gives it a paint if it's necessary. But I said anything extra, they will probably expect you to pay for. I've contacted the Lloyd conservation officer and he's not come back, but because it's internal, I don't think they're particularly interested and we're not changing anything structural.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is taking wood chip off the walls and replastering if it needs it. That's all he wants to do. And then he does demos, he does
Yeah.
online demos, and he says he really needs a completely flat, plain black background. So
I mean, I don't see any problem with it. I think it's pretty reasonable.
Do we have actual cost? Or?
I don't know.
I forget the status of the courthouse. Is it listed or?
Grade 2
Yeah.
listed, yeah.
Because, but it's only a stud wall, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
So would we be able to, we ought to just talk to planning about it.
Well, I've emailed
Yeah.
Lloyd, yeah, and I've got no response, so the fact that he's not come back. And I know from owning the house I owned, grade 2 listed, they internally, they weren't particularly bothered, unless you started knocking walls out and things like that. They weren't bothered about decoration and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, they're not bothered.
No, so I thought, well, we've put the feelers out to Lloyd and he's not come back, so I
Fine,
think it's probably okay to say that he's okay to do it.
we're happy about that, are we, in the sense?
Well,
that
I mean,
it wouldn't render it unusable for
No.
any future.
no.
um,
In fact, if he could
Yeah.
stretch and actually strip the whole lot and replaster it and paint it, it would make it look a lot better. Because I mean, wood chip, it just used to get used
Sure,
as standard, didn't it, to hide nasty walls? That's what it used to be used for. So yeah, I don't think it would. I think it'd improve the office, to be honest.
who was the previous tenant in that one?
He was that. He was a lawyer, solicitor, Mr.
Oh,
Well, Andrew School before, after that. So yeah, Andrew School were the last ones. Sorry, I forgot about them.
It's easy to do.
But it was a solicitor before.
I suppose the only question from my thinking would be if the cost is substantial,
Yeah,
do we want to bear it, or are we happy if him say, we don't mind you doing it? I don't know
I
how
think
it
we
works.
say we don't mind him doing it.
Well, if he gets, I
You'd
can,
have to look at the lease.
yeah, he'll have to get some quotes, obviously. But
yeah,
I could say to him, have to get some quotes, see what you think, and if he wants to come back to us, I can always say to him that I can put it to you to see if you want to contribute or not.
That seems fair.
I think in terms of like with Andrew the Stanford Mortgages, when she did a lot to that office, put new flooring down and everything, and we needed a new heater, but she wanted a nice looking heater, which was quite substantially more costly than the
Yeah.
normal one that we would purchase. So I think we put towards what we would normally pay, and then the extra she paid. So I suppose it would be fairly fair if we made some sort of contribution to it, if it is.
Yeah, I don't really see why we should actually do that.
No, I mean, heating is essential. She's got to have a heater.
Oh, yeah,
This
yeah,
obviously isn't
necessarily.
essential. It's something that's tailored purely to this business.
but like you say, you know, it might be the case that, let's say he's only there 6 months or a year or something, but afterwards it actually increases the likelihood.
Rentability,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So what I'm looking at.
Well, definitely what Emma had done to her office did. It was almost a case of people fighting over it because it was so
Right.
nicely decorated, nice floor, nice radiator. It looked very modern compared to the rest of our rooms, really.
Right.
I'll
So,
get
yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll get
Yeah.
Okay. So if we go and say, look, you know, get a few quotes
Yeah.
and talk.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good.
So the next thing is discuss lease for chat and decide next steps. So I'm guessing the lease is due for renewal.
No, we've never had one.
Okay.
I don't know, we inherited them as sitting tenants, didn't we? Chat, they were already in the courthouse when we bought the
Yeah,
courthouse.
it's chat is basically an untapped council.
Oh, like a branch, isn't it?
You
Yeah.
know, we started it, the town
Okay.
council started it, it's,
But the lead person approached me and said that I think they're getting pressure from, is it the government? They're getting pressure from somebody to actually have a proper lease in place. So they've just obviously
so
approached
was that
us.
Denise, the maid?
Denise came to see me, we had a meeting and she said, yeah, we really need to have a proper lease in place.
Yeah, I don't know really where that came
Could be
from.
a bond, couldn't it? you need to,
Pardon?
if you need to apply for grants, maybe,
That could be the only.
so it shows that you've got, I mean, we would sort of expect some kind of lease.
The thing is that the Chatters joined a kind of group, which is the sort of thing that the county council want. They only ever want to give the funding to one lead organisation and then they divvy it out.
Mm.
And it might be that it's a rule of the umbrella organisation. I'll go back and ask about that, because when it came up last, I thought, well, we've never had to do that before. I mean,
Yes.
that's, you know, it's.
Well, yeah, have a
We
word
have a
with them.
duty to let.
Chat is one of those things I've heard of, I don't know anything about, so how,
It's a youth,
Counselling,
council
yeah.
organisation
okay,
that Amble Town Council started.
okay.
Um,
Right.
And as always, as it were, it's part of our umbrella, if you like.
Okay.
As opposed to, say, volunteer action.
Yeah.
Which wasn't started by Amble Town
Right,
Council.
okay.
But is there any issue just simply giving them a standard lease?
That's what she was asking you.
Yeah, I guess, yeah,
I basically just went back to her and said,
How long have
I
they
think
been there?
that, how long?
Yeah, I
Ooh,
don't know really.
I don't
Well,
know.
since.
30 years. Long time.
Since they started,
Yeah,
trying to think, a long time,
so I'm
20-something
I
years.
think she wants a longer period, obviously, than our standard lease is 3 years, so I think it'll be a similar
Right.
thing in that it's a, I don't know, 20-year lease or whatever we've been doing with the other people that we've got long term. I can't remember what the museum one is, it'll probably be along the same lines as like that, but she said there's nothing else in the lease, any clauses or anything specific that they wanted.
Right.
So yeah, there's nothing
Okay,
that
Yeah,
we
maybe
need to be
the funders
concerned
want
about.
to see a lease.
Yeah,
direction,
Yeah,
Ian?
But I will find out a bit
I
more.
was going to say, do they pay rent? And is our normal policy that rent holders pay the cost of the lease?
yes, that's what we normally, but I don't know whether they pay, do they?
No, they don't.
They don't, not nominal.
It's
What?
sort of an arrangement, well, it's called an but,
It's not much.
um,
And how much is the cheapest lease?
The template that we set up with Tollers recently, just a standard lease of 600 plus that to prepare.
So potentially we'd be asking them to pay for that, or they'd be asking us to pay for that.
Yes.
I suppose.
yeah, we need to know. I need to go back and ask some more questions.
Mm.
It might be treading on dangerous territory
Yeah, so I think
from Chat's point of view, because it might then mean that
we have to
every
change
3
terms.
years, you know, we may have to have, well, yeah, change, yes, and we have to change the terms,
Yeah.
certainly. So do you mind if I go back?
No.
And I'll talk to Gwen Ratcliffe, because she was the councillor who was the lead person on
Okay.
that,
Right. Okay, that makes,
and check out why, well, I know why we had the arrangement.
So we're not against it, we just want to.
yeah,
The
yeah.
ramifications for everyone.
Yes, so that we don't, I'm just wary about getting chatted and stuff, I think that might just be not in their interest.
And there might be some brilliant reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
there was,
sure.
because it was a town council enterprise, if you like.
Okay, that's good. Right, so next, continued discussion regarding the installation of Swift boxes. Church? No? Okay. And decide next steps in light of the planning requirements. Basically, this is an email exchange between Ian and Lisa, jointly. I did read it all.
There's the extra bit from the planners now, which is
Mm.
on the document saying that it's an invalid or incomplete application.
Indeed.
Because we have to have 1 to 50 or 1 to 100 plans. Is this purely because it's listed?
Probably, yeah. I thought the information I'd sent off would suffice, but clearly they want proper plans, which obviously cost money to draw up. I think the last plan that we had drawn up was to do with the Christmas market, and that was £300. So it's a lot of money, just unless we can find somebody that can do those kind of scale drawings for a lot cheaper.
Okay, but from my understanding from the emails you two were sending to her, we're kind of at the period now where Swifts would be nesting.
Yeah,
So-
we've missed the boat now,
Yes,
so
we'll do
we've
it.
got a
Next
year
year's
to plan
Swifties.
for it if we want to still do it. Or I wondered whether, because the gentleman that suggested it, I don't think he said it had to be specifically the courthouse. I think it's just he noticed the courthouse because the church had done it.
Yeah.
So whether there's an area we could do it, one of our other buildings that isn't listed, that would still be equally beneficial.
So worth going back to him and asking.
Was there something specifically good about that site, or would you?
The Swift's hotter. than
Yeah.
the other courthouse.
What point to courthouse?
Yeah.
I want to live there.
And who would do drawings of such things?
You'd have to get an architect, I presume.
It might. It's,
That costs money,
That's
just.
No,
what
a
it
lot
is.
of
Yeah,
it,
yeah. Unless we said some of the architects were really nice and doing lovely Swifty things.
yeah.
Do you like Swifty things?
Who doesn't?
How would you like to sponsor?
How do you like,
Exactly.
yeah, how do you like to help us build a partnership on the Swifty things?
We're not, it's not for this year now, is it?
No.
No, not if
So
we have to
when
do
we have the
it.
annual, the town meeting, there are lots of people who live in Arundel.
Well, I was thinking.
Experts in all these things, I'm sure some people
Plus,
take
there's
it on.
the business
You know,
association.
Jeremy
meeting
know, but
next week.
some,
Somebody might want
Yeah.
to sponsor it down the road.
I'll raise it, I'm in a meeting next Monday, so I'll raise it.
Okay,
And if we go back to the Swift man and
let's
say,
say, yeah,
other buildings, question mark,
yeah. okay.
Yeah,
Yes, we
all
keep-
that.
yeah,
Swift's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item is car parks. So the report, but is this, so, you went to see the manager of
I
Fairline?
went to see the chief
Chief
executive.
executive.
Fairline, he's a very nice man. And the general gist, I stuck it in the mayor's report
Yeah.
last week, which I forgot about. So we had a nice talk, we had a nice chat. As I said last week, the scale of the operation at Fairline needs to be seen to be believed. It's formidable. They've got 500 to 600 people working there. And its impact on the town in terms of just buying sandwiches at the co-op is
Totally, yeah.
pretty substantial. When I went into the meeting expecting it to be a little bit terse perhaps, he rolled out a new map of their car parks. And the problem they've had is they've expanded and expanded, and they've got tool jigs here and jigging things there, and all the stuff you need to make a big fiberglass boat is around on the outside. And they're just in the process of introducing a new parking scheme.
Right, okay.
Which has increased their parking by 20 or 30 spaces. He also sent me an internal communication on the 15th of February, asking people to avoid using the Appletown car parks as much as possible in order to leave these free for town and community use, which is nice.
Yeah.
But they're not hiding any car parking spaces there. They've got spaces, more spaces than they have cars parked in front of them. And they have to have a rota whereby people leave notes and numbers on each of their cars to get them out,
Right.
to get them in and stuff. The majority of their workforce come from Peterborough, Wellingborough, etc. But those coming from Corby and Ann will probably come through town and want to park on this side rather than go around. We talked about the cycle scheme and whether they can encourage people to cycle to work. We talked about various other alternatives, and they're really happy to keep talking about it, but they don't have a lot of space. The other thing is they don't own all of their buildings, so they can't
Right,
make
okay.
substantial changes. Like a multi-storey car park or something without leasehold permission.
Now,
well, whenever they ask for planning, our, as it were, view on any planning they're doing of buildings that they've been going up or changing or putting in place, and the large equipment that's come up several times. We have always said it must not compromise the car parking. It's, you know, we've said you can't do it if it's going to compromise the car parking. It's their problem if they've, you know, overdeveloped the site.
I don't think they have overdeveloped it as such. I think it's just much bigger than you imagine.
No, we all know it. I mean, you know.
Well, it's bigger than I imagined it.
Yeah,
So there's no quick fix solution
yeah.
on their side. And I don't know what East Northampton, whatever, put as planning conditions on any of their development, but its space is tight. So I suppose the other side of the coin is, do we want to move into the world of enforcement? Do we want a time limit on it, etc.? And if we do that, we're just going to push those cars somewhere else. So I think it's probably needs to be quite strategic about it. I'm more than happy to go back and talk to the people at Laxton Junior School. I've got a contact there who's happy to talk about it and see what their solutions might be, because they might be users of that car park as well.
Well, when we first put the car park there, we had they were building Laxton Junior, that the agreement was that they would be coming twice a day, people would be coming twice a day, hence the fact that we've got a gate in the back corner and to go through to the back of the school.
Yes.
And they school have kept that, and they wanted to keep all their front free of vehicles, but you can see now it's always chock-a-block with their own vehicles. So there has been a huge amount of vehicle increase, both at the school and at Fairline.
Everywhere.
Um,
The fact we don't own the car park probably doesn't help, so we can't make significant changes to it. And I suppose the last point is we need to think about enforcement or fines or whatever it happens to be. But one other issue is in 6 years' time or whenever our lease runs out, the problem's going to be worse.
Much.
And one idea that someone suggested to me on the market was, has the council thought about putting, is it an ABC or an ACD? Or?
AMPR.
No, not an AMPR.
Oh, sorry.
No, making it an asset of community value.
Oh,
So it would continue to be a car park.
I think we do.
I
Was
don't
that
know.
we looked at that?
That's a good question.
Considered that?
And it was a good question, because you can apparently put an asset of community value on anything. You wrote it or not, it seems, I don't know. But there we go. And
Big council to resurrect that.
it seemed quite a good idea, because
yeah,
in 7 years' time, it doesn't matter what we say on the enforcement timing front, if there's no car park there. It's going to be a bigger problem for everyone.
okay.
Can we go back to the original problem, which is parents not being able to park to drop their kids off?
Well, yeah, that's
That's part of that. That was
It is,
one thing,
yeah.
so. Yeah, you can,
the emails did talk about that, but I don't know.
that was it.
Well, it's a very serious part of it, in fact. Which is why I mentioned it.
Yeah, you do.
We
Laxton
talked
Junior
to
have now,
the school together.
yeah, but they've now gone through 3 iterations of how they drop kids off. So if you go to the front of Laxton Junior, they've now got a dual carriageway.
Oh, have they,
drop-ins.
right. So,
They encourage roll and drop
right.
to get people out of town and park.
That's good.
So the dropping of children off isn't actually a problem.
That's what it's
Okay. I just, it's just that there are multiple problems. I'm not quite sure which problem it is that we're trying to solve. And it seems as though one of them has actually solved itself, or Laxton has solved it for them.
I think both of the big users of the car parks are keen to try and resolve their problems as best they can. The problem is the car park will always end up being an overflow car park for both.
Yeah.
The other problem, as was pointed out by someone else recently, is I think since COVID, And again, I don't know if this is the case, Waitrose staff have been told not to park in Waitrose car park. So they have to find somewhere to park. And someone said lots of them are parking in the Longstay car park. Just on that point, it's the Longstay car park. If people are parking in there for a long time, that itself is not a problem, that's a good thing. It's just they're not shoppers. So I'm not sure that many shoppers know what it is. It's not actually something. The only sign in front of it is from Eastbourne House, telling everyone there's a recycling centre down there. Which isn't there and it's not there anymore. And the signs in the centre of town point the wrong way.
Yeah,
So actually, if you were a shopper or a visitor looking for a Longstay car park, you probably wouldn't mind it, you go and park in the court, I suspect.
but a lot of the shopkeepers, office people do know it's there.
But then that's its job, isn't it, to provide
Yeah,
car parking?
which is exactly what it's there
And that's what
for,
it's doing.
absolutely.
So it felt, Fairline are very happy to keep talking. It would be nice for us to be able to put them and Laxton Junior together.
Yeah,
So I've got this contact to Laxton Junior, if you're happy, I'll chase that, see what comes. But I don't think there's any magic bullet. But certainly Fairline they've rearranged their own parking and they're asking people to avoid using the car park if they can.
The problem is if they can, because they'll just say they can't.
But also, there's nothing in there saying that certain people can't park there. And we've got no way of knowing who's parked.
Yeah,
yeah,
Because it's
Yeah.
a car park.
absolutely,
So it's
it is.
it's not quite a Gordian knot. But it's,
And the vehicles are bigger. The
Well-
vehicles are bigger, like, you know, the spaces we've got in the co-op car park are barely big enough.
That takes me on to the next question I was going to ask. Is there anything you can do in terms of the way the parking lots are laid out to actually get more? I mean, I don't know what the gap is between them, or is there any way you can squeeze in more parking spaces?
it doesn't look like a very logically laid out car park sometimes. And you might pull up some of the bushes or curbs or things.
although
It's not ours.
I know from planning that whenever someone's building a new house, the car park spaces are very precise. So I would imagine that there are, making changes, there are probably significant reasons why you couldn't, but that doesn't mean to say we can
Yeah,
ask the question.
I don't see the need for bushes and things in car parks, they just become mess traps, don't they? Any bits of paper that get thrown
People
in
don't
there.
hide
people
behind
hide
the cars. is that
Well,
right?
there was, the last cut that we had of those bushes, we did quite a substantial one and that freed up about 3 parking spaces that were, they weren't completely covered over, but you could
Yeah.
scratch your car if you parked there so people would avoid it, so just keeping the bushes trimmed up, make sure that we use the maximum amount of spaces or can use them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was the quote we had last time for repainting those lines? It was quite, what was that? I want to say 30,000 for this.
No, it was quite a lot, but that was because they also quoted us, I think, for digging up the roots, didn't they, and
But certainly it will be expensive and it's not our car park, so.
Well, it's our car park, it's
But
it's
we
not
could-
our land.
Yeah, it's not.
We
The point
could
is,
in fact, I think, improve car
we've
park.
spent a lot of time spending improving it and then in 6 years' time we have to hand it back.
Oh, yes, I appreciate it.
Okay, I think there's several things here. One is, what is the enactment? No, what's the enactment?
Asset Community Manual, ACD.
Yeah.
Can we look into that more?
Yeah.
And bring that back? I think that's a really interesting idea. I think Max's idea about how we're using the spaces, maybe whether we have more, can have more room, is a good question. So I don't know how we go about that. Do we say
we could get
what would quite be for-
a line mark
Yeah.
person to come and look at it
Yeah.
and work out whether we can do it more
um,
and gain more space.
but for me, parking in Aldo is the biggest It's my biggest, me and my wife's biggest bugbear, so it's,
It's certainly something people are talking about on the market.
yeah.
For good, and it's not going to get any easier.
There doesn't seem to be, like you said, there doesn't seem to be a very simple, straightforward answer. And that's unfortunate. I think parking is something we could look at a lot more in depth.
Well, certainly with the transport report, the idea of some sort of ANPR, something,
Yeah.
like co-op car park,
Yeah.
churning people through fast, it might be helpful. That would probably just put more pressure on this car park.
The average stay in the co-op car park is 2.5 hours, that's the average. So, Ben Radcliffe and I did a survey years ago, spent many hours up Clipboards, recording things down there, every single vehicle moving. It's quite interesting.
Is it okay if I make contact with Laxton Junior and have a chat with him as well?
Okay, yeah. Okay, I think that's covered that. So next on the agenda is public toilets. Cyril.
Yep, we've had some work done on those. We had a water leak. The Anglian Water were very quick to report to us, so we got that sorted.
Okay.
And we've replaced some of the internal mechanisms of the systems because they were just, some of them were running constantly and they'd just worn out basically.
Right.
So they needed replacing, so hopefully that's those problems solved for now.
Yeah, anything else anybody wants to mention? No? Okay, we'll move on. Properties and open spaces, so the rec, and player escape park, etc. So the first has an extension of pathway across the rec to see the path design line. So yes, it's provided by you?
Yeah, by me, administration. This is your fault. You said, do we have a path to something?
Yeah,
I was cycling through there one morning. You can see where people walk.
exactly, yeah.
So I can do a picture. I saw someone walk on a diagonal. So it was just simply put that picture in. It looks much clearer when you're standing there on your bike.
Yeah, I mean you can see
You can see the brown stuff where people are walking, and it's an obvious place to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to walk from the centre of town through Kings Road, I see about 9 kids every morning walking through their home school. They walk past that lamp, which is working again now, thank you, and straight across. And we've sort of tarmac one end of the basketball court. And
Yeah.
Put the tarmac, and there's just grass in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's not a crisis, but you suddenly think if we're going to encourage people walking, that's an obvious place. You don't want to walk and get your shoes on.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to cost £1 or £1 million.
I've chased I've had one person come out and 2 people said they could quote based on the information and the pictures I gave and the measurements, but nobody's come back to me, so I don't know. The one that did come out and meet me on site did say about the curbstones. He said, do you want curbstones laid as well? Which I said, yes, probably. And he said it just saves, and he showed the path when you go round the other side, it's kind of bled out a little bit because they haven't got the. But he did say the tarmac and the concrete curbstones has doubled in price over the last few months. So he did kind of warn me, but then he's not giving me a quote, so I will chase them again.
Okay. But what do we think generally about the idea of a path? I like the idea of a path.
To a certain extent, in the long term, you'd be foolish not to do it because you'd pay more money sorting out the grass damage.
Probably. Yeah. That?
Grass damage has not ever been a problem as far as I can recall. I just wonder about if we positively encourage more people to use it as a shortcut, there will be more litter to pick up and that kind of thing. I'm not totally convinced.
Okay.
You know, I can dissuade her.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of litter around there at all. Actually, there are bins. near the park. So
Yeah.
I saw one sweet rapid stone.
Or Nobby and Tony, that is part of their daily chores,
Yes, they
going
do
down
daily
litter
pickup.
picking. So I
Well,
mean,
that's
I
why
can
we-
ask them if they feel
That's,
You could certainly
Increase.
look around and say, as it is at the moment, there's nowhere to put litter. You put a path down there, you could put a bin halfway down as well.
And then,
Yeah.
so multiple.
it is a nice spot for a bench, I would say, yeah, very much so, yeah.
one of the benches at the, the other
Is
two
it
benches we
big?
bought, one of them's been installed the other end.
Okay,
The new ones that we
Yeah.
ordered,
Yeah.
well, it was going to be a Jubilee bench, wasn't it, and the COVID bench, so one of those is in, I think the other one will be in quite soon as well, so that looks nice. Picture today of it.
cool. Okay, so, yeah, we'll wait and
Get some
Yeah.
quotes.
see, yeah,
Okay.
that's good. So, yes, the rugby club would like to use the rec as parking overflow, 14th, 15th of April, 9 to 5. Thoughts?
I've just been trying to look for the minutes from before because they used it last year, didn't they? And I think, I'm pretty sure we agreed that we'd let them finish that season last year, but then we weren't going to let them use it anymore. But I've just been looking again for the minutes. I can't find them. I'll have to dig them out. But I think last time you felt that them using it every weekend meant that other people that want to use the facilities of the rec can't do that. But I'll definitely check for definite, but I'm sure that's how the feeling was last year.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that it is a recreation ground, first and foremost. If it was a one-off, because it was a big, coronation do or something, maybe, but
I mean, at the minute, this is a one-off thing. It's for a tournament just on the
yeah, but
14th
that's
and
the
15th.
tournament. I
Yeah.
was thinking about something.
So whether you feel
special.
differently about that, but I know we definitely said we weren't going to let them
Yeah.
for the whole season use it every weekend.
Yeah.
It was too much.
I think one of the things from last time we talked about it was that there was a request and there was another one soon afterwards. And that's when we said, we don't want to use all the time. The question I think was raised about charging as well.
Yeah.
Like £50 for a use or something, so at least there's a benefit to us to use it.
Yeah, I think we should.
But then you see, we've got it, there's our own market, Christmas market, there's the food festival, I suppose, which is ours again now this year, so that's our one. Who else uses that on a regular basis?
Well, fun fairs.
Next item,
Next
yeah.
item,
Well, no, it
circus
says car
fun
park.
fairs.
Oh,
Oh, as a car park. That's it.
There was partly at the
Basel
Basel
for the wall.
yeah,
So there's sort of 3 Saturdays. I remember from the Christmas market last night, 2 or 3 people walked across and were moaning. I can't play basketball. I couldn't play last week for some reason, but I don't think there were 2 car parks. So maybe there's a communications issue, like anything else. The other side of the coin though, there's no Ross parking. And in this case, I know there's a lot of London Irish people coming up, the club, not people who are Irish from London. And they're staying for the weekend in some cases, and that's good for pubs, shops, towns, etc. And we're putting on a nice impression of stuff. So it's that sort of thing that do we say that 10 times a year is okay, or 4 times a year is okay, and how do we apportion those? Or is it going to
I
be
don't think it's about the number, I think it's about, we have to approve them on a case-by-case basis. And the advantage it brings to town, I think, outweighs having that out of use on a particular Saturday.
particularly communicated?
Especially with the issues that the St Peter's Road, especially near those bungalows have.
Yeah.
We had lots of complaints about big 4x4s just parking right outside and making it very difficult for them to even get out of their driveways. So I suppose that would outweigh.
Yeah, and again,
Sorry,
sorry.
It's important that if we grant use to it, that what's the word I'm looking for? You have basically people telling them, right,
Oh, yes, you have to control it. And the other thing is, of course, we don't want damage to the grass.
Well, the 2 go, I think, hand in hand.
Yeah,
I went through the rugby club after all the market stalls, because there was a match on, it was heaving, and I live near a declaration of interest, I suppose. But their parking place was round. But again, it was double parked and triple parked, and they had consciously squeezed lots of pint pots into water or whatever it is in that car park. And St Peter's Road was full, etc., etc. And there were a lot of visitors coming to town, etc. In this case, it's going to be more so. So you're going to have benefits to the town in this case. It's sensible, as long as it's well communicated and well marshalled.
So one other thing that comes back to my mind, and I think it was the International Festival who parked on it and then charged people to park on it, which we were not happy about, were we? And so I think we ought to be able to say that as well, that if they're using it as a community asset, they shouldn't be charging people.
So it's for the benefit of the town.
And we might have to say no caravans and that kind of thing, because heavy things certainly will damage the grass, won't they?
Okay. Do we have to vote on that? Should we have a vote on that? Yeah, I think. Okay, so then all those in favour of letting the rugby club use the recreation grounds and overflow parking on those dates?
Is it, how many dates is it?
Just two.
Two, so it's well
Weekend.
within everything, yeah.
Same weekend.
15, yeah. So all those in favour?
As long as it's marshalled,
Uh-huh.
and are we asking them to pay?
They're saying
Good
what?
I
question.
mean, are we asking them to pay?
They're asking them to pay us.
Can
I
we
think
also-
we ought to.
I don't think we should, just because,
Even if
That's
it's
what
a
we're saying.
relatively
I don't
nominal
think
sum.
so. I don't think so.
£10.
I was going to suggest 50.
That's what I
I'll
said.
take it in the bar easily.
Yes, easily, like in the first minute.
I think the thing is, if we charge them £50, do we need to charge everyone £50?
yeah.
Yes.
It does make it a thing, you can't just use it for that.
That's a very fair
Absolutely.
point. Because it is, yeah, no, that's a fair point.
And so are we saying that,
It's a benefit for the town, there will be people drinking in the Rose and Crown, blah, 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 etc.
That £50, you know, the town, if you like, is going to make back a lot more. So I don't think we should charge personally.
No, that's fine, I just want to be clear
Yeah,
about what
yeah,
the
yeah,
vote
yeah.
was.
So are we saying in fact that in general, in future, until we come up with a policy, we're happy case by case, but we're happy if it's marshalled, we're happy if it's, we're going to say weather dependent, so there's
Yeah,
grass
that's always-
damage.
Yeah, that's
So
Yeah,
we say
that's-
that's a condition.
that's good.
And what was the other condition?
They don't.
Oh, they don't pay,
Yeah.
there's no payment.
That they don't charge
Yeah.
Or,
to make money
or
out of
they're liable for any damage done.
and liable for it, yeah.
And due to the benefit the town gets, we aren't going to charge it at the moment.
Yeah.
But we might.
We might have to go back
Yeah.
to the full council if it's a
Of
new
course,
policy.
And also, we're effectively saying that it needs to be as well communicated to the town as possible.
Yes.
for the rest of the action. Do we put that responsibility on the rugby club? Or do we say we'll do that?
I think they should do it.
I think they should do it, but also that gives them an opportunity to advertise as well, doesn't it?
And it gives us an opportunity to say, well, last time we didn't, so let's.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a sort of contract.
So
Okay,
I think that's
so-
your vote, we've all effectively agreed.
Agreed.
On that basis. On those
Okay.
instances.
Yeah.
You've got all that written down?
Yeah. okay,
That's on you, boss.
He's
With
actually,
having a policy.
in the email, he said they're fully marshalling it anyway, so I know that's
Yeah, that's
answered. He says weather dependent, which we always say that anyway. So I'll just clarify the fact that we don't want them, we're not going to charge them for it, and we don't expect them to be charging people for it.
And the responsibility on them to let people.
Publicise it, yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant, thank you.
Cool, brilliant, okay. So the next item, similar, is to allow Holbrook Circus on the From the 18th to the 26th of March. There'll be 3 show days. They've requested that we have 3 ponies on site for restoration, as well as their big top and other associated vehicles and equipment. Is this the same different service?
Different one, yeah. As far as I know, the Polbrook one certainly hasn't been here in the time I've been here.
No, I
Might
don't
have been
recognise-
previously, but so yeah, they're as far as I know, they're new to Arundel. They had a cancellation, a last minute, well, not last minute, but
Yeah,
a
well,
cancellation. So they thought it'd be quite nice to be local.
Theoretically, we have circuses on it.
Yeah,
Are ponies unusual? Do we like ponies? Good for grass?
Hmm.
Who cleans up after?
well, I did ask him that. I said, I'm assuming that you will clear up whatever is left by the ponies.
Yeah,
So
And the ponies are cleared. So the pony deposits.
I think they must use them in the
Must
show
have
for
been,
something,
yeah.
mustn't they? They do educational stuff as well, his email said. So he said, although there's only 3 show days, I think they're open to the public and they do some sort of educational bits and pieces. He didn't really go into a huge amount of detail about it. And what we usually do, I think the trading days, we charge them £60 a day, and just standing days, we charge them £30 a day.
Okay. Thoughts? Anything that we would change, I guess, from the rugby club? Any differences? Well, I mean, there's a few differences. Vehicles, larger vehicles, more equipment, ponies, some more time.
Communications, isn't it? Letting
Yeah.
them know that the record we have in use. I suppose if we're being paid for it, is that fall on us?
That's a good question.
sorry, what?
Well, letting people know that if you want to have your kickabout on the 14th and 15th of April, you can't do it now.
I don't know.
And
I
you
just
might plan
don't see
for
why
that.
we just don't put all these dates up on the website. And that don't-
Yeah, I mean, Rebecca advertises everything anyway.
So it's our responsibility in this one.
Well, if the people can't go on it, it's our responsibility, but people in the town, once they hear that it's there, they know
Mm.
perfectly well that they can't.
The other circuits, how long are they there for?
It's usually about the same, yeah. It's usually a week, and then 3 days, 3 or 4 days show days.
It's fine.
I mean, I'm okay with it. Everybody
Totally.
okay with that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, next, properties, open spaces, site meadow. Green spaces off our plans, update.
Yeah, the interpretation board isn't in yet, but I think John and Tony and Nobby are going to do that in the next few weeks. Now the weather's improved, I think they're getting out and getting some more bits done. I don't know why I put Baltic Galleries, because we didn't have Baltic Galleries, there's extra things. I've contacted Craig, the farmer, about when we're expecting the cows back, but obviously it's going to be quite some time yet. There's not really much greenery down there at the minute, so there's not much for them to eat. So hopefully we'll have a nice spring and there'll be plenty of
Stone
growth.
and Norman.
Mm, yeah,
Trees,
Trees.
trees.
I spoke to some people at the market. Blooming Amble were keen to do something with trees, but I'm not sure they've got anywhere to put trees. Given it's now the end of February, and we need to be in the ground for the next month or so.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest that our best bet is to say to people, if anyone wants a tree, come and get a tree. Because there are a reasonable mix of things, aren't there?
Mm.
And it would be good to get them out of there. So if we advertise 3 trees, because we've only got 30 haven't we? We've
Yeah.
planted a few already. So it's probably going to be 20 odd.
yeah, because we have got some places to put some, haven't we?
We can talk to Blooming Amble are happy to try and encourage some people.
Okay.
I know we haven't yet got flood and fill, but is the timing
Mhm.
going to completely stop the ability to use any of them there?
No, we can, are they bare roots at the moment?
I don't know, I've not seen them. I'll have to ask the boys.
I suspect they're bare roots, and I suspect we can pop them for a year or two. We've got a small number of them.
For some reason I expected them to come potted, but I might be wrong. I've not
I
seen them.
suspect they're bare roots. Probably.
Okay.
I mean, if that's the case, I'm happy to volunteer Mrs. Clark's fingers for 5 or 10 to go in a pot in our backyard. We planted 1,000 trees.
I'm very pleased with that idea because
I'd say you're
better
very
than
brave.
rushing at it,
Yes.
putting them in places that we might regret,
So I'm happy to nurture some for a year or two, then if flood fill goes through, we can put them in the right place.
Yeah, okay.
But it might be worth getting rid of a few, because good number.
Yeah.
Do you want, can nobody drop them around at my place? I know this
I
sounds
should
like some
imagine
dodgy,
so, yeah.
massive tree kidnapping event.
Yeah, well, I'll go with him to work out what's in the places that we've got space, what we're going to put there. And then, yeah, I'll get him
Because
to put the rest
ourselves,
of.
we can just mastermind people going to pick them up from us, and we'll work out which ones we can keep on, and keep as many as possible.
Can I say
Yeah.
thank you?
You can to Mrs. Clark, I'm sure she'll be delighted. I'll tell you what, I'll be doing some of this.
Yeah.
But it will be entirely appropriate for the sake of a few months.
Does anybody ask the, whatever it's called, holy name of Jesus? I don't mean the patch of ground that is on the outside, but there's certainly potential to put trees on the inside.
Of the church. Don't think we have. Do you know people?
I'm not at all, I just happen to live nearby at one stage when I'm there.
You can walk across one day. But again, if we pop most of them on, then at least we've got that option.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you get the ones that survive dropped off at our place,
Yeah,
um,
okay.
break the news to Mrs. Clark, unless she's watching this now, in which case I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
But at least then we've got the choice, and I'll ask Rebecca, once we know how many we've got left, I'll ask Rebecca to stick something out for the 5 or 10 that are left. Then at least they're going to good homes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, sorry, I might know somebody else who could potentially house them. I'll make inquiries in the next couple of days.
Okay, but at least if we get them into homes and plots and
Yes.
stuff, they're safe.
Okay. Workshop. To receive paper on town council maintenance buildings and consider further action. So we have got, yeah,
Sorry. We've talked about this a few times, and I started thinking about it, and I was in various places over the holiday, and I started looking at things, and I took some photos, and I thought it might just be worth us putting some wrist into the mineral, etc. So I just put some stuff together, and you can see it behind there. The first one is what we do down at East Road. We have staff welfare, we have kitchens, toilets, etc., which we have here. We have a workshop. The replacement therefore would need to be a new workshop. We have storage for things that ride on. We need a garage in some way, shape or form. We have a store. Do we park the vans down at East Road?
No.
They-
Only during the day while they're working.
So some sort of parking space during the day, that's it. So just looking around the slides in various ones, looking at there, that is the building at Thraxton Centre, which is present in Lichgate, 2 storage buildings off each side. That's sort of the top end by something. I suddenly thought, would a Lichgate down at the cemetery be a nice idea? This is
Could we sold a building off that we used to?
I was
That would be completely
just thinking about a Lichgate.
strange thing to do.
It looks very nice.
it does look very nice.
But what's most exciting about Thraxton Lichgate is behind it, they have that.
Wow.
I think something like that in the what was the preschool garden would be the
Now that, according to that website, is £340. Now, Thrapston Town Council, we can ask them, but that's officially on their register of
Is it
assets.
big enough?
Well, no, that one probably isn't, but around the place it won't. Now, we've got Fletton Field potentially coming on, and we want to store things potentially on Fletton Field. That tin shed, it's got a proper padlock on it, it's bolted to the ground, fantastic. If we move down to the next slide, that's its big brother.
Yeah.
Same manufacturer, same style, it's a garage that's quite chunky, and that's £1,000. Now, you also need to build it, you can't put it on the ground, but that sort of thing, we're going to get tractors, etc. So that
So
was
that's the
another
sort of thing we were putting on the car park at the rubbish
way,
road.
effectively.
We've been down that road.
Now, this was my most favourite exciting stuff. This is at a mobile home sales showroom in Peterborough. Now, I asked the question, have you ever had one of these
I
mobile
think you're
workshops?
looking for a man cave for yourself.
I have, actually. And he showed me this. Now, the rather less stylish photo down here is the inside of that building, which is a workshop. Now, it's a caravan, it's a mobile home, it's 40 foot long. Basically, I think they go to this place near Tesco's in Peterborough to dine or get sold on. But the one above that, it's not a very good photo, but they've painted it, they've taken out the kitchen and all the furniture, and it's a big space. It's got a roof, it's got windows, it's mobile, so we could potentially put it
Do
somewhere.
you mean to
Take
say
it.
there is one available?
They can get those.
Well, why don't
Between-
we?
It's not very large, but we need
No, they don't, they're between £2,000 and £4,000.
Okay.
So in terms of a workshop or in terms of something, I'm just putting it out there as an idea. Then we go down to this rather.
Now that is
Now these are all local supplies.
nice.
This is made,
I know exactly.
do you? Yes, that's made
But absolutely.
Iceland.
Yeah.
So they make lovely insulated composite buildings, and they're very nice and they're very beautiful.
Very expensive.
They're about, that one would be £10,000 to £11,000, but
Is that what they told you?
no, that's what their website says. But it's very swish. And then if we want to go really upmarket,
Yeah.
Scots of Thrapston do really nice garages. Now,
That is probably bigger than my flat.
yeah, it's quite significant. They when I was driving past.
Can I move in?
When I went and chatted to them, they said, yeah, well, maybe a bit more than you want to spend. I think that was 40 or 50,000. But what they did say is every time they go and fit one of their lovely stylish buildings, they often take down a horrible, nasty, not very stylish wooden equivalent. And apparently they've got a couple of old bits around, show bits, whatever.
Right.
If we decided we did want to look into this, they'd be happy to talk to us about making something work
Claim them.
potentially. So anyhow, I thought I'd put all those photos down.
Very good bit of research.
Yeah, it is.
What I also then did is I sat outside one night and I had a look at my exciting diagram. My exciting diagram, when I sat outside for half an hour, I thought there's a bin store out there which takes up 2 car parking spaces. If you put on that location, remove the bin store and put a square workshop potentially, or maybe a garage, I don't know, but something in that space, we're effectively using our own curtilage and saving revenue most of that. Some sort of garage or workshop or shed or whatever it is inside the playground
Yes,
out
that's
here
what I'd be.
would be a decent idea. The reason I thought about putting the garage there is that you could easily, relatively easily, most days back a trailer in,
Absolutely.
back a trailer out, really
Mhm.
quick and straightly. The other thing is, if you look down by this bottom door here, there's some old cycle loops.
Right.
Now, I'm a cyclist. I've never seen a bike on there because most people come in the front door. They never get used. So you could easily use that little area against the building as a neat little store with a coat shed. There's a couple of windows might be in the way, so there's an issue there. The other one is that big area of pavement, which is just a little there. Now, whether you can put a bin store on there or put a store on there or what, I don't know. But I thought, given the amount of area we have on those 4 locations and those various options, if we accept that these roads costing us between 8,000 and 13,000 a year, potentially moving some of the functions up here is feasible.
I think we outside it.
And if
Because
we need-
it's nice and hidden and tucked away.
And if we need the tractor up here to cut the field every now and again, it's makes
Absolutely.
more sense.
Also,
Absolutely.
planning implications.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
But I know we need to talk to planners, and we know planning
If
is
you screw it to the floor, there's anti-planning.
suddenly your £2,000 to £4,000 in a mobile caravan looks more attractive. So there's all sorts of
I think
questions
so.
about that, exactly. And I don't know how we go about that, judging by our experience with the Swift boxes. We might need to put a planning application, but we could ask friendly local planners for general advice.
Somebody was talking to me today and showed me a structure in his garden that he's now running a hairdressing business from. And I think that what we're proposing would be smaller than the size of structure that you'd have to get planning permission for,
It's about how fixed it is, isn't
and
it?
how fixed it is.
It is mobile. The other problem might be that in a house you have, what do we call it, development.
But it's easy enough for us to
Permitted.
find out. what
Permitted,
the-
and I don't know we would have
And
that
that's what
issue.
I'm not convinced that we will.
I'm sure we're not. But on the other hand, we could just apply for planning. I don't know how it works.
Well, on the next point, the AMPS car park, the container in there, I've emailed planning on that and they haven't come back to me about that. But certainly if it comes back and they say you need planning for one 40-foot container, you're certainly going to need planning for
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. But that in itself doesn't make it a bad reason. The thought of having all of our team working in the same place,
I think
Seems
it's
attractive.
brilliant,
and we've got space.
and you've got the space.
I think we need the stuff together though, we need it all on one site because if it was split in different sites, like when we were talking about AMPS, I know we're using that for signage and stuff that everybody uses. But we don't really want a situation where Tony's got to go somewhere from here to there to collect something to come back to do something, so.
If
Ideally,
everything
it
happens
needs
from
to
here,
be-
but it makes
yeah.
Fletton House more of a hub, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
But the other thing is, Fletton Field, who knows what the arrangements are making.
Mm.
But if you drive the tractor straight out of the garage on Fletton Field and cut it, and we can drive the van and pick
Honest.
it up,
Mm.
actually, there's a win there as well. So anyhow, that's it. It was sort of blue sky thinking.
Nice.
I thought I'd rather
It
use
is
sort of photos than not. It
Um,
was really interesting thinking, well, this would work, and this would work, but planning, scale, costs.
David made well known about planning implications.
I suspect so. I'm happy, I'm in the middle of talking to a local planning officer about the St Peter's Road development as a resident. If I ask him a general question, he lives in Rimwood,
Yeah,
he's a nice guy,
yeah.
he might be willing to give us an opinion.
I think so.
I shall do
I
that.
think we've just got to, before we get carried away, know that we don't get tied up in planning much.
Yeah, no,
No,
absolutely.
I do want-
Okay, I'll do that.
That's really good though, and there's lots of options.
So, and actually, some of them are really interesting
Mm.
and attractive. I know I said a container originally, but those are better containers. Potentially really quite nice.
I think as it's for storage, that you can see, that doesn't imply that it's only going to be something that somebody's going to dwell in.
Okay, cool.
Okay, excellent. So there's the container at AMPS car park. Yeah, as you say, we've not heard anything back.
No.
From planning, so is there,
Until we get,
until we hear back, there's not much we can do, is it?
because it's in the conservation area, isn't it? And that's sort of an
Yeah.
issue.
It is.
I mean, probably the best person I should have emailed was Philip from AMPS really, to see what he did to get the one that he's got installed.
Yeah,
Well, you'll be seeing him soon.
On Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it. I wanted to come to that, I can't make it. It might work. Okay, so the next point is EV charging. Now, Chargy have been a bit,
Naughty.
rubbishy. Again, read all these. So they've said minimum 6 months. Is that correct? That they can. So Chargy, we spoke to them. They said, yeah, great, everything. We'll come along and do that. And then they've said minimum 6 months from now.
And I got that email from him literally an hour after I published this agenda. So, that's
Did
why-
you email, because it looked like a form reply, didn't it?
Yeah, it looked like a standard thing, because
It really did. Yeah, it
he
really
isn't the
did.
person we were dealing it with either, so I copied Rob, the chap we were dealing with, into the reply that you
Yeah.
gave me to send to them, and I've not heard anything back.
Well, fingers crossed it's generated by a website reply that says we can't start a new business. If that's how they're going to treat us. Well, we've got this far now.
I think I
With the
sent
phone
it.
lines.
No. It's unfortunate, unfortunately. But we'll see. St Peter's Church. Consider request from St Peter's Church to install multiple benches in 2 key locations in the church grounds. Now we've got some pictures here of proposed bench spots.
Yeah, they just wanted to get our opinion, really. They said, obviously during COVID, they were trying to arrange various things where people could meet outdoors, and that's one of the things they realised, that they had a severe shortage of places for people to sit and just enjoy company outside. So they started talking about, and they thought the best places were along that pathway there. They could fit probably 4, maybe even 6, 3 each side. And then they said near the wall, the other picture, people sit on the wall all the time. In fact, I walked through there yesterday and there was people sitting on the wall. I don't think installing benches is going to stop people sitting on the wall necessarily, but it will give them somewhere else to, as an option. So they said sort of like 3 in a semicircle, that end, and then like an avenue of benches there. They just wanted to see how we felt about them, really.
Thoughts? No.
I'm not against it, but it's not all that long since they were blocking up the porches because people were sitting, smoking, etc., inside the porches and leaving lots of mess and disturbance.
Well, she did mention that. She did actually mention that, because we said that's the only thing you will encourage people to come and sit and maybe drink and smoke. But she said
Is there a bin there?
Do
there's
they
one bin near the existing bench,
Okay.
and then there's a bin just as you come out where the bus stop is,
Oh, yeah.
just outside. So yeah, they could install more bins as well. Same principle as the rec, really, so with the pathway that you just, if there is an increase, then you just have to increase the bins.
I mean, I think they look really nice idea.
Who's paying for this?
They said they weren't looking for funding. They've not even got to that point yet for funding.
And then link to who's paying for it, who maintains them, and who's responsible for replacing damage. Because it's that weird thing, we don't own the church.
No, this is
We're
what I didn't really
responsible for
understand.
That's,
Yeah.
we do the maintenance.
All of the
Does that mean
maintenance.
that we're creating a maintenance job?
Yes.
So it's-
Yes.
But they're happy to go for the 100% recycled ones as
Okay.
well, yeah.
Okay.
Because I did say to them that the benches we've been replacing on our own properties council are fully behind the recyclable ones, but not ones that are maintenance intensive, wooden ones, so.
So I suppose the first thing is we need to know, be really clear
Mm.
about the maintenance, who replaces, because in 10 years or 1,000 years when they break, someone's going to say, who was that? Like all conversations we have at the moment.
And think that probably itinerant sleeping on.
Yeah, I know we had a discussion last year or the year before, I think, about the other bench in the churchyard being taken away due to
Yeah.
misbehaviour on it,
Yeah.
and drug
Yeah.
use. And I'm not entirely of the opinion that that's what goes on a lot, but it certainly goes on there a bit.
Mm.
And if you do attract, put more benches, it might happen more.
If you're going to take drugs, you'll go and find somewhere to do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Kind
They
of
will
was
do it.
that
I
mindset,
mean,
yeah.
as I say, it's not very long ago since we were having to go to the church commissioners, because it's a big thing, putting the gates up in the, over the porches
I know,
to stop people from being, the drug users and people.
And rightly or wrongly, what was presented to us last time was a safeguarding concern from
Yeah.
school security guys, because they often have to move people on Saturday night. The other side of this, and this is out of school, love the reason I work there, is that path there.
Yeah.
Is heavily used by our kids.
Yeah.
And I know when I cycle past there, I often go on the cobbles to go around people, etc.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay on time off cycling the church. But actually narrowing that path after a big funeral or way.
I was going to say, it's not necessarily.
It's not
I'm not convinced these are actually the best.
No,
Not the best sites.
no, I think there might be better places. So I think the idea of benches I really like.
Okay,
Recycle, great.
okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, shall we say then, in principle, we like the idea of there being benches in the churchyard. However,
Yeah.
we need to know more in terms of maintenance.
You've got to think
Location.
about siting
Yeah,
and the nature of the benches
Yeah.
themselves and who's going to maintain them.
Absolutely.
okay, that's fair enough, I think. That's fair. Okay, Annual Cemetery. Sue report.
Still waiting for quotes.
So any quotes?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just reading
That's all right.
something else.
So if you want to go into business, tarmacking and
Yeah,
land clearance quotes and drawings, that's the business.
I'm really surprised as well because one of the companies that I approached about the pathway in the recreation ground is the chaps that did this out here, and they were really good. Within 10 minutes of me emailing them, they phoned me to come and visit the site, and it was booked and done and dusted.
Maybe it's too small, maybe it's too weird.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I wasn't sure, but I will chase them again tomorrow.
The skate park team, we can ask them to do it. Just do it. A couple of hours while
Got some spare cement left over.
Okay, James Strong and the markets, nothing to report, do you, with them, unless there's anything anybody would like to mention?
I was going to mention one thing which was mentioned last week and I forgot. Again, sitting on the market, you do it for a bit, I did it for a bit. So a lot of people have lots of opinions about the markets and how we run them, and how healthy they are, and I think that's probably discussions about markets everywhere. But I thought it might be worth, whether it's us or full council or both, actually having a little ponder about our markets.
I think that's a really good idea.
Mm.
I think it's a
I
really
know
good idea.
Definitely.
pull the ideas if you want people. I wrote some down. I can stick you a piece of paper and spread it around for this group next time.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
And
that's.
also with other retail outlets closing, I think it's more important that we keep the market flourishing.
And then, yeah, it was just an interesting talk to you. So I'll happily put some stuff down on paper.
I think there are less people, you'll tell me whether I'm right or not, who are actually functioning as market stall operatives these days. The markets seem to be very thin, is that right,
I
Lisa?
think it's getting harder, yeah. I think it's getting harder for the traders.
If you look at what's going on in Northampton at the moment, but they've moved their market.
Yeah.
Everyone's moaning about it. Two of them have gone out of business in the last month. So
Peter, yeah, same people on from people, so people have completely changed their market.
it's difficult. Lots of people said to me at least, Uppingham's got a really good market. I haven't got time to go. Don't know if anyone has got time to go the next week. Month, sorry. It's on a Friday morning.
So who knows?
Uppingham.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know whether it was good when we were there. Certainly the market footfall on the Thursday market was much lower than the market
Yeah.
before. But people's experiences
It's on
will differ.
Friday, would you say?
So, have a wonder.
There's been quite a lot of comment as well on, was it Andrew Chatter about the prices as well? Somebody had put £2.50 for a head of broccoli and a turnip,
Really?
and it was cheaper to go in the co-op to buy, which
Find
I,
that hard to believe.
I mean, I know most people that support the market anyway, I don't, you know, it's not the cheapest, but that's not necessarily why you support it. is it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, they can't say that the cost of a market stall is high, it's negligible.
Oh, it's very cheap. Our prices at Recharge are very cheap.
And so considering that being a market stall holder, you're cutting out, particularly the farmers market, that's the attraction. They shouldn't be that much more expensive. They're obviously
Well,
looking
it's-
at market opportunities.
Well, no, it's I think
Yeah.
lots of yeah,
Everybody has all the expenses and
exactly. Yeah.
fertiliser and feed and all that sort of arranged.
Right. Town events. More bunting. Yeah.
Declaration of interest.
You hate them.
I like it because it looks nice when you look up.
It does. It makes the town.
It does tell people that something's on, best way of advertising.
Bunting sales are, I suppose. I don't know bunting at home, does
Okay. Food festival preparation going well.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Should go with plenty of.
Can I just say something about that? The food festival, certainly in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been involved, does require a number of volunteers to do stuff, particularly at the beginning and the end, as well as actually during the middle as well. And I don't know what the town council are doing about that, but we being Creative Arundel, can find volunteers, but we need to coordinate.
Well, we're going for the security as normal now. That's
it?
I think, yeah, the marshal, we decided that makes it run much smoother and it's a lot less stressful for the volunteers and
Right.
whoever else is involved.
Well, I doubt security is going to go around and empty all the bins.
No, that's the sort of thing that we do, yeah.
We need at least 4 volunteers to do that, not more. I'm only saying this because I've done it myself, and security people actually aren't that much use. You need the volunteers to back them up.
Well, they're only hired for the road closures, that's all they're hired
That's
for.
what I mean, precisely. And because there is one almighty crush to get people in and then a crush to get people out, I don't know how many security people you're organising, but normally there's about 3 or 4. That just simply isn't enough, which is why you need volunteers.
Well, with when we do the Christmas market, there's myself, Emma, Rebecca, and Deborah usually present. There'll be Morag this time as well because Morag's on hand to help with it. So there's all us as members of staff, and we do the bin
But
emptying.
if you've got it covered, that's absolutely
Yeah.
fine.
I mean,
Just saying
if there
that
is
you
more
want-
volunteers, that'd be great because it would
If
do
you
no
want-
harm whatsoever
If you
with
want
extra.
Creative Arundel to call out volunteers,
Yeah.
then let me or Andrea know.
Yeah.
And Andrea will do it.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
More than that.
Well, that's it. What's the expression? All hands make
More hands
light.
make the devil's work.
Like
More
well,
hands make light.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Street lights. True Hall. Still been investigated.
Yes. She did come back to me. I think you raised the issue, didn't you? What if a resident complains? At the time, a resident hadn't complained, but I sent the email to Eon and said, if a resident should complain, is there things we can do? Can they go on a timer? Can they go off, sort of when it's late? And she came back and said, yes, there are things that we can do, but we really need to know when somebody complains, to know where they're located, because that will affect what they do. So I left it that if somebody should complain, and within a matter of weeks somebody did complain, somebody that lives opposite. So I've copied and pasted their complaint of the problems that they're having with the light and sent it to her and said, right, this is a complaint, what can we do? And I've not heard back yet.
Okay.
Again, some of the
Fair enough.
Yeah,
changes.
I think it's just the brightness at night.
It is very
It's
bright.
incredibly bright.
Yeah.
It's the brightness, also the angle, they've got
Yeah.
quite a wide range.
I mean, they have angled it away from most of the
They're not like
buildings,
that.
but yeah, I go on an evening walk and I do a circuit around Arundel just to check various things like lights and that. And I got as far as just towards Clutch and Craft,
Hmm.
and I could see the glow of the lights. I hadn't
Absolutely.
even gone quite round the
Wow.
corner and I could see it. They are
You've
very,
got
very bright.
sunglasses on. Then you get your welding glasses on.
So yeah, I can imagine living opposite it. It probably is quite bright.
I almost wonder whether it's dangerous if you're driving, coming round from say Stoke Doyle
Mm.
and then into the Bedingfield Road. It's like, whoa.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I will chase again tomorrow. I will. Very nice lady called Rachel Eon, who's really helpful. So I'll chase Rachel tomorrow.
Okay. Moving on to CCTV. Councillor Clark.
I spoke to the, I don't even know what she's called now, who the estates person, the person that runs our estate, and we talked about the money that the school has been paying for a long time for the old system, which was very labour intensive, etc. They're not particularly keen on paying lots of money anymore for the system, which doesn't need that awful lot of money. We don't have a copy of any agreement, and they don't have a copy of any agreement, so we sort of need to move into a new world of how we work things out. They're not against helping us out, but our maintenance contract's about 450 a year, I think, at the moment. They're not against helping us out with that. The interesting question has come up with the whole change in GDPR now. If you walk into a bus in the middle of town and you complain about the bus, you can't see the footage, none of us can see the footage.
Yeah.
But you can report it to the police and the police can ask for the footage, but we put a data officer, is the thing,
Well, myself and Rebecca are
are
the
allowed
ones
to
that.
then find the footage
Yeah.
and move on. The interesting question is if the school's helping us pay for it, are they allowed to have a data officer as well or not? The view is maybe not.
No.
At the moment, our data officer down at the school has asked her data officer and legal friend people for what their is, and then we'll know more about whether how we put an agreement or a mutual understanding or nothing together in the future.
So this is really, I don't know if you spoke to David, who's my,
I emailed him, yeah.
right. So after the last meeting, we discussed co-op CCTV, co-op putting up CCTV cameras. And he came back to me and said, oh, something you can go, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's good. Was that so, Arundel Town Council going to pay for the cameras? I was like, what do you mean? He assumed
Yeah.
that we discussed putting cameras on the co-op and that somehow the council were going to pay for that. And I said, no, that's not really how that works. So, similar conversation in that who owns what, and his attitude was, and the thing is, I don't know what the school's attitude would be. I suspect it'd be quite different because it's kids. His attitude was, okay, if we pay for it, as in the co-op pay for it, then we want to own the footage, or we want a right to look at the footage. If you pay for it, as in the town council pay for it, then if it goes to the police, that's what he's bothered about. But is there a middle ground? If co-op pay for it, half of it, Arundel Town Council pay for our food? Is there a?
I don't know how we stand. This is what I said to him in the email. I said that it's better if they pay for it and it's their CCTV.
Yeah.
Because if we do it, then if you have an
Yeah.
incident there and then
It
on
goes-
site, you can't do anything about it. You have to come to us. So my viewpoint when I spoke to Emma about it was, it should be yours.
Yeah.
Because then if something happens, you've got it there
Yeah.
on site. You don't have to then come to a third party to find out what happened.
Yeah.
And I think joint ownership is potentially a stupid disaster.
Yeah.
I agree.
One of the interesting conversations that came out of this conversation was, obviously, if it was joint, the car park was Arundel Town Council and Co-op, the sign would need to say, the person videoing you is Arundel Town Council and Co-op, and these are the addresses you get the details from.
Neither of us who use it.
Exactly.
They've got to get permission from the.
And if it was Arundel School and Arundel Town Council, we'd need to put that on our signs.
Okay.
And I suddenly thought, we don't have that on our signs, do we?
No, I think, well,
We merely say.
I
that
think
there's
all you have to
CCTV.
say is this area is covered by CCTV. I think that's the only legal requirement.
Okay.
You have to warn people that there's CCTV in operation,
That's
but they're just standard signs that say CCTV in operation in this area.
Who would we check that? Can we check that with any?
I think it was Sarah Barn when I spoke to her about it. She was the one that,
It's just, I think the GDPR legislation, maybe it's on private property, which is why it's different. You have to at least say this is being recorded by,
okay.
and you can look at it in A. I don't, it's like all these things, isn't it? You can read it, hear it, find it. But so anyhow,
If the police, let's say there was an incident at Arundel School and the police came to Arundel School and said, can we look at your CCTV? I assume you would show them CCTV.
The police.
So they might say, do your signs say all of this, and we might say, we'll just repaint the signs and let it there. I think this is
The
what.
police are the only people that can ask us to view it.
Right, yeah,
We
yeah.
can't view it just of our own accord.
Okay. Fran?
Well, historically, the town put the original CCTV in,
Right.
and then the school came to us at a much later date and
Right.
said, can we come and join in a bit? But when we did install the original cameras, we worked out also that where we put them would be of benefit to the school.
Absolutely.
So we put them pointing down routes used by the school, for instance, and we put them so that all the entries into Arundel were guarded by a camera.
Right.
So I mean,
Yeah,
things
it
have
makes
moved
sense.
on from that, because if you're talking about ownership, I don't know how it works for the town, because it didn't originally come into it. The streets and things are owned by highways. So I don't know quite how what belongs to whom works out in terms
Yeah,
of.
it's
So,
also-
but yours, if it's on your building, would be yours. It wouldn't be highways,
Yes.
for instance.
Uh,
I don't know, do you know, Lisa?
No, I don't. I'll have to check with highways.
It didn't seem to come into the discussions when we
it
originally,
was probably more straightforward then.
Yes,
His name was
much more
highways is
straightforward.
actually
Yeah.
a contractual part of whatever.
yeah, fine.
Okay. Energy. The lockable things from radiators, aren't they? I saw one.
TRVs, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, as I was walking upstairs.
TVRs.
No one's broken into them.
No,
Yeah.
they were quite easy to put on. Yeah, so there's one in the foyer
Just
when
imagine.
you first come in,
Yeah.
and and I've just left them on 3. We agreed on 3, didn't we? So, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Any other business? Flower?
Well, I've still got this lady who talks about King's Road and this, I thought it was a bench or something. But I've had a look and can't see what the heck.
Are you
it
sure
is.
it's not Springfield Road?
Totally sure.
'Cause-
She lives in King's Road.
and there's a bench in King's Road.
Or is it a patch of grass? I've left a message for her to come back to me, because I went and looked and I couldn't work out
I'll find
what
out.
she was talking
No.
about. Or whether it was that the grass needed cutting or was she saying to me, could we have a bench on that try and have a look at it.
Yeah.
So. I'm
Yeah, because the
hoping to-
Springfield Road one came up and
But
I
it's not
wondered whether,
Springfield Road.
right, okay. So if you can find out some more
Yeah, so I'll
information,
try
then
and
we'll.
find that.
Okay. No, that's excellent. I've not got anything else, so we'll call that an end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The,